Hello all, a great afternoon. Welcome to yet another live session of Narayana IAS Academy. So, I would like to welcome each and every one of you to this particular session. This is actually going to be our last session of Environment and Ecology series under your Prelims Masterclass 2025. So, you know that this is Sureka Bhaskar and I am actually taking you through these important topics or the 100 most important topics in the section of Environment and Ecology. So we started 10 days back and we've completed 9 sessions. That is, each session is around for 1.5 hours to 1 hour 45 minutes, where we actually deal with the most important current affair topics that have been in the news for the past 1.5 years. That is from Jan 2024 to the month of March 2025. Okay. So as you see the screen behind me, we've actually completed significant portions of these topics which are very important. So if you are the first timer watching this particular lecture, I would like to take you through the previous 9 classes. Please do watch it diligently because these are high potential topics that can actually come in the examination. So the probability of these topics coming in the examination is where, it is very high. And not just that, we've dealt with the particular current affair topics on why it was in news. We've linked it with the corresponding static topic as well. Okay, so this particular course is very important and the completion today it is getting over with the last portion that is actually pending, that is species in news. So any species can actually come because this particular section has become very unpredictable. Okay, so we will deal with few of the species in news, and even in case if you are not able to complete all the 40 species that we've taken up today, we will actually provide you the material which you can download from the Narayana IAS Academy app. Okay. So this is what I wanted to tell you, and after this we will be coming up with, that is already you have other courses on polity, economy and all. Polity has come to an end, economy has come to an end. Now you will have schemes in news coming up, after which we will start with one more important topic, that is international or important international organizations or bodies, okay, with respect to the United Nations, WTO, etc. And we will also look at few important regions in focus, okay, because of late UPSC has been asking questions on this particular region. For example, Sudan, over here, there is actually what to say, there is severe drought or whether it is famine. All this is taking place in these regions, etc. Okay, so those areas also we will cover. Now let us actually move forward, and I will take you through the most important topics that we've already dealt with. Okay, so let us start with this particular session. So we had actually divided the entire current affair topics into these particular themes under environment and ecology. So the beginning of the lecture we actually started with, that is the beginning of the series, we started with this concept of ecosystems. Okay, so under ecosystems we dealt with the forest ecosystems, and under forest ecosystems we looked into the different initiatives that have been taken up by India as well as across the globe in order to conserve this particular ecosystem. Okay, so this also includes the peace, 1 minute, forest ecosystem. So here it includes the Peace Forest Initiative. We had the UN Red Program. Then we dealt with what are these conventions, that is UNFCCC, UNCCD as well as UNCBD, when these were actually signed as well as ratified by India. And also we discussed the wood certification scheme, and then we saw the international arrangement of forests, then the India's deforestation statistics. All this we dealt with when it comes to the ecosystem portion. Okay, moving forward, we move to the second kind of ecosystem, that is your ocean ecosystem. So as a ritual we actually revise all these topics. Okay, as I always tell you, this is to give you a sense of completion, that even if you feel that no, you haven't done enough in your preparation, by looking at this you can actually come to the realization or acknowledge the fact that you've covered almost 100 topics of environment and ecology, most of which will be appearing in your examination. Okay, so we moved on to the ocean ecosystem, and here we discussed about the High Seas Treaty, whether India will sign and ratify it or not. And then we moved on to the Blue Flag certification scheme. So all these things we looked under the ocean ecosystem. Then we moved forward to the other kinds of ecosystem. Okay, so what are the other kinds of ecosystem? First, we looked into the coral reefs. What are the conducive environment in which the corals actually survive, their symbiotic relationship with that of the zooxanthellae algae, and what is the photosynthesis, and in return what does this particular coral reef offer, that is the shelter. All this we've actually looked into, and also the types of reefs, then the mass coral bleaching event that is supposed to, or what NOAA has actually warned that the fourth mass coral bleaching event is going to take place. Then we looked into the concept of artificial reefs, and also we looked into what you call it as different types of coral reefs, that is the fringing reefs, the atoll, as well as the barrier reef, and we saw the examples as well. Okay, then we moved on to what the mangrove ecosystem. Okay, so blue carbon storage, yesterday also we discussed, or you can say the teal carbon, that was a key term we discussed. And also we discussed about the wetland ecosystem, and this wetland ecosystem was actually conserved under the Ramsar convention. So we looked at this, and apart from this we looked at the concept of peatlands, etc. Okay, so these are all the different ecosystems that we discussed apart from the ocean as well as the forest ecosystem. Then we moved on to deal with the important environmental organizations as well as the bodies. Okay, so over here we discussed about both the national as well as the global organizations, like we discussed about World Wildlife Fund for Nature, we discussed about the National Green Tribunal, we discussed about Central Groundwater Board, and also we discussed about Global Environmental Facility. Okay, so all these organizations we had actually discussed. Okay, so what are their functions, what is their jurisdiction, etc., all that we discussed over here. Then moving forward, we actually came to the most important topic, that is climate change. Okay, so in climate change we started with the mitigation as well as the adaptation technique. Or first we understood what is the term of mitigation, what do you mean by adaptation, what are the different methods or the initiatives that India actually takes in order to curb the menace of climate change through mitigation as well as adaptation. And one of the most important topics that we discussed here is the CBAM, that is Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism by the European Union. Then the European Union's Nature Restoration Plan was there, and then what happened? Excuse me. Yeah, the Nature Restoration Plan of the European Union was there. And moving forward, we looked at the concept of CCUS, that is carbon capture, utilization and storage concept we actually discussed. So all these we had discussed with respect to mitigation and adaptation. Then moving forward, we looked at various initiatives that have been taken. Okay, so what are the initiatives? That is, we had the Conference of Parties 29 that took place in Baku, Azerbaijan, with respect to UNFCCC. Then we had the COP16 that actually took place with respect to UNCCD, that is Convention to Combat Desertification. And we also looked at the World Drought Atlas and the status of degradation of forest land that is actually taking place. Okay, so with all this we finished the climate change, and finally we dealt with certain India's measures like the greenwashing guidelines, the eco-mark rules of 2024, and then we have the green credit program. All these things we dealt with. Okay, then we moved forward in understanding the next important concept, that is the biodiversity. In biodiversity, we started with what is called as a concept of tiger reserves, then biosphere reserves, and the eco-sensitive areas. So this is actually the basic. Okay, so this is actually the conservation of the protected areas where the wildlife as well as the flora are protected. Okay, so what kind of activities are allowed there, whether it has the core zone, the buffer zone, and what are eco-sensitive areas. This specifically acts as the buffer zone between the human activities or the human intrusion, and it protects it from the, it protects the protected areas like the wildlife sanctuaries as well as the biodiversity reserves from the human intervention or the conflict. So this is what is the concept of eco-sensitive areas. And also we looked at different conservation methods of biodiversity. Okay, so we looked at the in situ conservation and also discussed topics like the Project Tiger, and then we spoke about the International Big Cat Alliance. Okay, so Project Tiger. Then we discussed the International Big Cat Alliance, which is actually the global grouping or the alliance that has actually been brought forward by India. Okay, in order to protect this big cat species, we saw 7 big cat species, out of which 5 were present in India. And what is the requirement for their conservation? Okay, so all that we discussed over here. Moving forward, we looked at CITES, that is Convention on the International Trade of Endangered Species of Flora and Fauna, the appendices, that is Appendix 1, 2 and 3, under which it is protected. Okay. Then we also moved on to understand the project coalition or conservation coalition, where NGOs came together in order to protect the tigers. And finally, it was integrated development of wildlife habitat. Okay. So we discussed about different programs encapsulated together, where I mean coming together, like the Project Tiger, the Project Elephant, the Project Dolphin, etc. Okay, so we have actually completed this much. And also we need to know biodiversity also had COP 16 of United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity, and over here India has actually updated its national plan on conservation of biodiversity, which is in line with the Kunming-Montreal Protocol. Okay, so we discussed about what do you mean by Kunming-Montreal Protocol, when did it come into existence, what are the 30 cross 30 targets that it actually sets, all that we discussed over here. Okay, so after finishing biodiversity, we moved to pollution. Okay, very important topic, okay, for both your prelims and the mains. So under pollution also, we classified it into air pollution. Under air pollution, we discussed about air of the Anthropocene initiative, air of Anthropocene initiative. After that, we discussed about the National Clean Air Program. After that, we actually discussed about what the ground level ozone, which is also called as the tropospheric ozone. Okay, so these three concepts we actually discussed in yesterday, under air pollution. Then moving forward, we moved on to soil pollution. Under soil pollution, we discussed two types, that is salt affected soils as well as the concept of soil acidification. Okay, soil acidification. So this is what is the topic we saw. And then moving forward, we saw other types of pollution, including the water pollution. That is, we saw light pollution and we saw arsenic pollution. Then we saw mercury pollution. Okay, so light pollution, arsenic pollution, then mercury pollution. Then we saw the global nitrous oxide budget of 2024 that was released. And then we saw the nitrogen pollution. Did I mention? No, mercury pollution I mentioned. So nitrogen pollution as well as the pollution on persistent organic particles. Okay, so over here only we know that India is actually has signed and ratified both the Minamata Convention on mercury pollution as well as the Stockholm Declaration of POPs. Okay, that is persistent organic pollutants. Then we moved forward to the next topic, that is the waste management. Under waste management, we discussed about the contribution of India to plastic waste generation. So we discussed about plastic waste management rules of 2024 and how did it expand in order to include or change the definition of importers, producers, manufacturers, sellers, etc. Okay, so we looked at the plastic waste management, and moving forward we also looked at what the or you can say the e-waste management. Okay, e-waste management. Then moving forward, with respect to chemicals, we discussed about the global framework on chemicals. So what is this global framework on chemicals? And it actually what to say, the offices, or you can say it has membership of two members from each United Nation region are actually part of it. So this is what we discussed over here. Then from this we've actually, with this we had completed most of the environment and ecology topics, right? Only we had species in use left. Then we moved on to geography in news. Okay, so what were the different interesting concepts that we dealt with here? It actually started with the mineral of ringwoodite that was actually formed in the mantle. We discussed another topic of the differential rotation of the sun. So let me write sun's differential rotation. After dealing with it, we move to the topic of geomagnetic storms. Okay, so how these geomagnetic storms are actually created, and how does it affect the magnetic field of the earth, and after that what are the impacts of these geomagnetic storms on the communication as well as the radio communication, what is the impact it's going to have on the human beings as well as the other animal species, all that we looked at. So geomagnetic storms we had completed. After that we saw about an interesting concept of EEJ, that is nothing but equatorial electrojet. That is because of excessive heating of the ionosphere during the daytime. How does the charged waves actually travel in order to cause this equatorial electrojet over the Earth's geomagnetic equator? So there we discussed about what is the difference between the Earth's equator as well as the geomagnetic equator, and why Earth per se is considered as a magnet. What are these magnetic lines of force? Whether if the distance between the two magnetic lines are actually more, that means the magnetic field, strength is actually less when compared to that of the poles where it is concentrated. Okay, so this we actually discussed in the EEJ, that is equatorial electrojet. So after that, in yesterday's section we spoke about another concept called as atmospheric rivers. Okay, so these are also like the rivers but in the atmosphere, which actually carries these moisture laden or you can say moisture from the tropics towards the western coast, and that is how it has caused heavy flooding in the west coast of United States, that is California. Then we discussed about the concept of nor'westers. Okay, then we spoke about what are katabatic as well as anabatic winds, and then we discussed about the concept of El Nino and La Nina. Why did we discuss about El Nino and La Nina? There was a concept of triple dip La Nina, that is there has been the occurrence of La Nina for the third consecutive year. So that is why we discussed about what is El Nino, what is ENSO, that is the El Nino southern oscillation during the normal phase, how it is. Okay, how are the trade winds actually carrying the water from the eastern Pacific towards the western Pacific, how the low pressure is created here. So rainfall in the Australian region, that is east coast of Africa or the western Pacific, is receiving rainfall. On the other hand, when the trade winds are actually strengthened beyond an extent, what happens? This phenomena actually is getting triggered more. So there is too much of low pressure over here. So excess of low pressure results in too much of rainfall. So flood-like condition in Australia, whereas in the western coast of the Americas, or you can say the eastern Pacific, there is actually severe drought like condition. So this is La Nina. In the converse, that is on the opposite hand, or in the other hand, you have the situation of El Nino, where the trade winds actually weaken for no known reason. So when they weaken, they cannot carry this warm water from the eastern Pacific completely. So what happens? The western coast itself, that is western coast of America itself, is comparatively warm. So there is low pressure rain like condition, whereas Australia actually experiences the drought like condition. So this is what we looked at, the El Nino, La Nina as well as ENSO as well. Okay, so with this we had completed most of the topics. Now do you even have idea of how many topics I've just written on the board? It's almost 90 topics I've written on the board, almost. So all these topics we've actually covered in exclusive detail. Okay, so please do watch the course, and please do tell your friends also to pay attention. Okay, so that you are in a comfortable position and your concepts are clear. Now in today's session, so let me see how many of you have joined and we will continue. So in today's session we have the last topic that is actually left, that is species in news. Okay, so earlier we know there were different species and their conservation statuses were asked. Okay, but now you don't even know what kind of questions that UPSC actually frames when it comes to the species. They sometimes talk about the characteristic features. For example, today also in the Hindu you had a what to say, concept of urban spiders, right? The urban spiders actually have the capacity to build webs in order to stop the noise pollution. Okay, so this can be it's an interesting case study. It can also come in the news. It can also come in the examination. So some kinds of insects. So sometimes the butterflies or you never know what kind of endemic species or any kind of species, or you can say the invasive alien species. So all that can appear in the news. So we have curated as much as possible to cover as many topics as possible. Okay, so let us actually move forward in dealing with this particular topic, that is species in news. There are around 30 to 40 of them. So I know it is actually not really possible to remember all 40 of them. However, we will actually try. Okay, so we will try to get a hang of it. Okay, so let us start. Okay, so the first topic is red sandalwood. Okay, so red sandalwood, it is a native Indian species. There is nothing much to explain. So I will actually take you through the contents that we have created after much curation. Do you understand? So the red sandalwood has been facing severe challenges. Okay, why? Because of smuggling. Red sandalwood is actually very, very costly. Okay, so around 1 kilogram of wood itself actually costs around 2 lakh rupee. That's why there is actually lot of smuggling. Okay, so the conservation efforts have to be focused on. If you see, this is the red sandalwood. Beautiful, isn't it? Anyways, so this is called as the Pterocarpus santalinus. So this is actually the biological or the botanical name. It is a rare as well as a unique species which is endemic. Okay, endemic to the forest of, specifically if you see, Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so that is eastern ghats of Andhra Pradesh, where the Seshachalam and then the Veligonda, then the Lankamala as well as the Palkonda hill regions of Andhra Pradesh. And then if you see, the geographical range of this particular species is very, very limited, and then it is highly prized because of the deep red wood that it actually gives, and specifically it has the medicinal properties. What are the climate requirements? Rocky, degraded as well as fallow lands. Okay, and it has a red soil, and it actually thrives in hot and dry climates. Okay, so just because it's in hot and dry climates, it is also drought resistance, and it is very, very resistant to fire. So this is what is called as red sanders. Okay, then if you see, it has a lot of, just focus on the markings that I'm actually doing, that is more important. Okay, so here if you see, it is used in traditional medicine. Specifically, it is used for treating your inflammation. It is used as antiseptics as well as anti-stringent properties. Okay, and it is useful in treating all the skin conditions, your arthritis as well as the digestion issues. 1 kilogram itself is around 2 lakh rupee. That is why it is being felt and smuggled. Okay, next one, the threats. So obviously I told you, right, illegal smuggling as well as logging, this is actually taking place because it has a very, very high demand in Asia, particularly in China and Japan, because there it is being used in cosmetics, the medicinal products, the furniture, woodcraft as well as the musical instruments. Okay, so additional threats also include forest fires. It is of course hardy, but then if people are actually losing this 2 lakh wood, which actually which is priced at 2 lakh per kilogram, people, human beings with a lot of greediness, they don't have the heart to give up, right? Anyways, that is actually subject to forest fires, then grazing by the cattle, and also other human activities. Now the protection status under IUC, majorly it is important for you to know what is the status that it has under IUCN, then under CITES, as well as the WPA. Okay, WPA of 1972. So under IUCN it is actually endangered, and under CITES it is actually listed as in appendix 2 of CITES, and WPA it is under schedule 4. Okay, so this gives it the legal protection. Now let's move forward. The next article. Okay, so here we will be dealing with Indian star tortoise or tortoise. It's actually tortoise, it's not tortoise. Indian star tortoise. Okay, so here you need to know what is the difference between a tortoise as well as a turtle. Tortoise is predominantly, it is actually a terrestrial animal, whereas if you see turtle, these are aquatic. However, they can actually stay on the land as well. And the tortoise is predominantly what? It is predominantly herbivorous, whereas the other is omnivorous. And the lifespan for these terrestrial animals, that is tortoise, is actually more when compared to that of the turtle. So this is what is the difference between tortoise as well as the turtle. So India have actually, researchers have recently identified two genetically distinct groups of Indian star tortoise, okay, namely the northwestern as well as the southern. Now let us actually have a closer image of this, okay. So Indian star tortoise, which actually has a scientific name, 1 minute. Indian star tortoise, which has a scientific name, that is Geochelon elegans. This actually gets the name from the star-like appearance it has. Can you see here? It looks like a star. Okay, so this is star-like pattern and it has a high domed shell. Okay, so slow, steady and safer. So here if you see, India has around 29 species of hard shell turtle. Let me zoom it for you guys so that you can have a better view. See, can you see this? Yeah. So what does this newspaper clipping say? India has around 29 known species of freshwater hard shell turtle and tortoises, okay, and half of the turtles are actually what? Threatened. So major threats include the trafficking, because it is trafficked because of the pet industry. If you see, few countries and also few people here also, they have tortoise as one of their pets, and because of that, what happens, there is trafficking that is actually happening and habitat loss as well. So if you see, this is actually the star tortoise, which is majorly found in Rajasthan, Gujarat and in southern states of India, globally trafficked for pet industry, and this is under schedule 1 of WPA. Okay, this is the star tortoise. Next, if you see, it is the roof turtle. So this is actually, it has a brown roof, Indian tent and Indian roof turtle, and then found all over the country and again trafficked for the pet industry. So this is also placed under schedule 1 of WPA. Next one, if you see, the Indian flap shell. Let me show you. This is Indian flap shell. See this one. This is Indian flap shell. So this is also for pet as well as for what? The meat. Okay. So this has been placed recently under vulnerable of the IUCN, and it is found all over India and it is conserved under what? Schedule 1 of the WPA. Next you move forward, spotted pond turtle. I am so sorry, this is Indian flap shell. This is actually your spotted pond turtle. Spotted, see, spotted. So this is actually found in the north and northeastern regions, again schedule 1, pet industry and global trafficking. Okay, so these are the different types of turtles and tortoises. So here we will actually move forward in order to understand India's star tortoise. So these are generally what? They are generally crepuscular. What do you mean by that? That is, they are active in the early morning and late afternoon during dry as well as hot weather. And since it's a tortoise, it is herbivorous and mostly it actually feeds on grasses and herbaceous plants and so on. Okay, and since they are very, what to say, resistant or tolerant to the habitats with seasonal wet and dry conditions. Okay, and also they can withstand what? Monsoons followed by prolonged hot and dry periods. And where are they commonly found? In scrub forests, mainly in the open lands, grasslands as well as the rocky landscapes. And in the Indian subcontinent, it is actually found, and also in central and southern India. In the Indian subcontinent, central as well as the southern Indian region, western Pakistan as well as Sri Lanka are also the regions where you can actually find the Indian star tortoise. Okay, protection, vulnerable, very important. Tortoise vulnerable. Imagine TV, television, TV. So T, that is tortoise, Indian star tortoise, it is vulnerable. Okay, then red sanders, if you actually smuggle it, you meet your end. So endangered. Okay, under Wildlife Protection Act, it is under Schedule 4 of the Wildlife Protection Act and Appendix 1 of CITES. See, we have to accept the fact that UPSC is also a luck game. Okay, Of course, the harder you work, the luckier you get. That there's no doubt about it. But it also depends upon the day. It has to be your day to qualify this exam. And also these kind of questions, no, these are very highly unpredictable. In case if you have read it 100 times and for the 101st time you're actually looking at the paper appearing in your examination paper, then you are very, very lucky to have gotten that particular species. Otherwise, we are, it's very uncertain. Okay, so this particular section. But also when you come across very important or unique characteristics of a species which are either endemic to India or any other part of the world, please take a or make a note of it. Any of the characteristic features can be asked. And also these days if you see, UPSC has actually made a paradigm shift. Okay, so apart from asking these topics that are in the news, they also, oh god, okay, fine, let's continue. Okay, so that was a big hit. Okay, so apart from asking questions from these particular current affairs topic, you have to be very careful in reading your science NCRTs. Okay, where under your science NCRTs you have botany, and over there botany as well as zoology, where you have to discuss about, where you'll be discussed about what to say, different flora as well as fauna, right? So anyways, let's move forward about the Indian star tortoise. So this we have actually done. Now let's move forward to look at one more important as well as cute species, that is olive ridley. Okay, so olive ridleys. So olive ridley turtles have been found dead along the coast of Vishakhapatnam, okay, during their breeding season. Why? What could be the possible reasons because of this? It is because of marine pollution, the accidental entanglement in the fishing nets, and habitat destruction. Okay, so this is the major reason. So now let's move forward in understanding the olive ridley turtle. So this is the cute olive ridley turtle. Okay, so you can see the mass nesting which actually takes place, that is called as the aribada. Okay, where thousands of females actually come to the shore and they lay their eggs and they go back. Okay, so this is what it's called. So scientific name is Lepidoscelis olivaceae. Okay, so the size is that they are the smallest sea turtles which are found globally. And then the diet is turtles. What can it be? The diet will be carnivorous only. So carnivorous, and this actually feed on crustaceans, like you have those the snails and all, right, which actually has the shell. So they are called as crustaceans, the fish as well as jellyfish. So they are known for this unique characteristic feature of aribada. Okay, that is synchronized nesting, where thousands of females actually nest on specific beaches at night and they actually leave by day. So this is called as aribada. Now moving forward, if you see the habitat, of course tropical as well as subtropical. Even in case of tortoise, we actually saw that they are extremely resistant to high heat as well as temperature. Okay. Now the global distribution is Atlantic, Pacific as well as the Indian Ocean, and in India it is found in the Gharimata marine sanctuary. Where is this? This is actually the largest, rookery which is present. Rookery is nothing but where these animals, no, they particularly the birds and the marine turtles, they actually, the turtles actually come together and they breed in order to raise their young. So this is a place called as rookery. Okay, so it is not a place on the map, don't think like that. Rookery is a place where you actually, like how beach is a place. So similarly, so anyways, global distribution, Atlantic, Pacific and the Indian Ocean. We have the Gahir Mata Marine Sanctuary in Odisha, which is the world's largest rookery for the olive ridley turtles, where the turtles actually come. They choose this place for laying their eggs, breeding, as well as, bringing up their young ones. The conservation status, this is also vulnerable. So tortoise, vulnerable. Olive ridley turtle, vulnerable. Okay, and then placed under schedule 1, and then sites, under sites it is appendix 1. Okay, so this is what is about your olive ridley turtle. Now let us move forward in order to understand certain conservation efforts that have been brought by India. So the Indian Coast Guard has actually come up with this particular conservation effort that is called as Operation Olivia. Okay, so Indian Coast Guard, remember that Operation Olivia. Sometimes Operation Olivia seen in news. Don't think it is something with respect to space, satellites, etc. or cyber security. It is with respect to the olive ridley turtles. Okay, to safeguard the olive ridley population during their nesting seasons. Okay, when is the nesting season? From November to December. Then the state governments are also asked in order to use the TEDs, that is turtle excluder devices. Okay, what do you mean by these TEDs? So these devices are like the nets that are actually cast on the sea for catching the fish, okay, for fishing purposes. So sometimes what happens, the turtles also get stuck over here and they are not able to escape. Okay, so this is the turtle. So here they are actually using the turtle excluder devices. So when these are actually used, what happens, it just catches only the fish as well as the shrimp so that the turtle can escape. So these are some of the conservation efforts that are taken up. Next topic, very very important, is the river water dolphin, or you can say the Gangetic dolphin. So let us see. So the operationalization, that is the functioning of the National Dolphin Research Center in Bihar, which is meant for the Gangetic river water dolphin conservation, has actually been delayed because of what? Lack of equipment and skilled staff. So that is why this particular article is in news. Very beautiful mammals, aren't they? Okay, so this is actually the dolphin. Okay, so don't think dolphin is a fish, dolphin is a mammal. Okay, so these are mammals, so they actually find it difficult to breathe underwater. That is why if you see, every 30 to 120 seconds they actually surface in order to inhale. Okay, so Gangetic dolphin, Platanista gangetica, it is a freshwater species. Remember, freshwater species, and is one of the fewer river dolphins globally. Okay, so you have dolphins everywhere, the Yangtze River and all. Okay, so this is one of it. Next one, also referred to as the tiger of the Ganges, and officially got discovered in the year 1801. It is characterized by long, see, look at the snout, long as well as thin snout. It has a round belly and it has a stocky body as well as large finger, or you can say not finger, large flippers. Okay, so this is what are the flippers. So do you understand? Now moving forward, where do they actually stay? Here the Ganges, Brahmaputra, Meghna as well as the Karnafuli as well as Sangu river systems of Nepal. Don't only think it is only present in India, it is also in Nepal as well as the Bangladesh and in India. Okay, so all these regions actually have the dolphin. Next, it is commonly known as the blind dolphin, and then it is also called as the Ganges dolphin or the Ganges susu because of the hissing noises it actually does during the respiration process. Okay, and then it is called as the side swimming dolphin or South Asian river dolphin. All these are there, and it does not have the lens to the eye, and it is often, that is why called as the blind dolphin. Okay, however, if you see, it has highly developed biosonar system. Okay, so it can exactly know what kind of animals, or it will even know when there are ships and all that are actually sailing on the surface of water. Okay, then it primarily feeds on the fish, we know. Then it was recognized as India's national aquatic animal. Very very important, India's national aquatic animal in 2009. So UPSC had also asked question on this, and it is the state aquatic animal of Assam. Very very important, Assam. Okay, and the threats are pollution, any kind of development projects as well as poaching. This is what it is. Then if you see the conservation status, Gangetic dolphin again endangered, Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act, then Appendix 1 of CITES, and then under conservation of migratory species, It is under Appendix 1. Okay. So this is the conservation status of Gangetic dolphin. Now, let us move forward. The next article is on Great Indian Bustard. So, recently a chick, that is a baby of the Great Indian Bustard, was born through the process of artificial insemination, okay, in Rajasthan. So, what do you mean by artificial insemination? Artificial insemination is it is like that in vitro fertilization where the fertilization actually takes place outside the body. Okay, so that is what is called in vitro fertilization. Do you understand? So here recently, a great Indian bustard chick was born through artificial insemination in Rajasthan at the Great Indian Bustard Breeding Center. Okay, now let us see about the Great Indian Bustard. Remember, Gangetic dolphin, the national aquatic animal of India, adopted in 2009. State animal of Assam. Assam, remember that. Okay, it makes hissing noises. That is why it is in Assam. Remember like that. Okay. Next one, we move to the Great Indian Bustard. So, Great Indian Bustard is also, please pronounce it as Bustard, not otherwise. Okay. So, this Great Indian Bustard is the state animal of what? Rajasthan. So, Bustard, Rajasthan. So, large bird of the bustard family, and it was one of the, it is the heaviest bird, okay, of the bird family, and then it is the state bird of Rajasthan. Rajasthan is very dry, right? So where do they habitat? Of course, the dry grasslands and the scrublands of the Indian subcontinent, and it is confined only to these states predominantly, that is Rajasthan as well as Gujarat. However, small populations also are in Maharashtra, the region below it, Karnataka as well as Andhra Pradesh. And then what are the major threats that they face is electrocution, okay, or the collision with the electric fences or the power transmission lines. And apart from that, habitat fragmentation or destruction, and then you also have hunting, okay, and also because of widespread agricultural expansion, the species is actually losing its habitat. Next one, the protection status, if you actually see, it is critically endangered. It is critically endangered. Critically endangered is not marked as CE in your IUCN list. Instead, it is mentioned as CR. In case if this comes in your exam, don't get confused. Okay. So, it is under Appendix 1 of CITES. And if you see Convention on Migratory Species, it is under Appendix 1 and finally Schedule 1. Okay. So, it is 111. Remember that. Everything is 1. And IUCN status is critically endangered. So, this is the bird. Okay. So, this is actually the Great Indian Bustard. Do you understand? Now, let's actually move forward and see what are the conservation efforts that have been brought by the government in conservation of the Great Indian Bustard. So, Project Great Indian Bustard. This has actually been launched by the Rajasthan government. And what is the aim? Obviously, to take care or construct or the breeding centers for this particular species and developing infrastructure to reduce the human pressure on the habitat. Then we have the conservation breeding facility, that is Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and Rajasthan government have come together along with the Wildlife Institute of India. They also established this for the conservation for the breeding facility, where at the Desert National Park at Jaisalmer. Very, very important, again Rajasthan. Desert National Park, Jaisalmer, Rajasthan. And we have the species recovery program. This has actually been identified for, that is this Great Indian Bustard. They have identified this species for conservation under the species recovery program, okay, which is nothing but the development, integrated development of wildlife habitat. We saw, right, it's a centrally sponsored scheme. So it actually came up in the year 2008. And it also involved many other projects like Project Tiger, Project Elephant, Project Dolphin, etc. And under this only, what happened? They actually recognized this Great Indian Bustard also as a suitable species for conservation. Okay, so this is what is this particular article. Okay, so Great Indian Bustard. Now let's speak about another cute animal, that is the Eurasian Otter. Okay, So, a rescue operation by the Pune Forest Department, they recently found a rare Eurasian otter. Okay, so this is the first time they actually found this otter in this particular region. Okay, let us move and see this beautiful species. This is actually the Eurasian otter. It is also known as the European otter or the Old World otter. Okay, so if you see, it is a semi-aquatic species and this is a mammal. This is a mammal. It is a semi-aquatic species. It is a carnivorous species. Okay, and it is also a Palearctic mammal. So, what do you mean by Palearctic? Palearctic is one of the 8 biogeographical realms, right? If you are a geography student, you would have read about the 8 biogeographical realms. So, what are the different realms? You have the Palearctic, you have the Nearctic, and then you have the Australasian, right? So, all those are the realms. So, it is one of the widest distributions among the Palearctic mammals. And what does this Palearctic region actually cover? Some parts of Europe, then North Africa, Middle East, and most of Asia, north of the Himalayas, including Siberia. Do you understand? And in India, where it is found in the northern, northeastern, as well as in the southern region. So, this is what is about the Eurasian otter. If you see the habitat, I told you it is semi-aquatic, right? So, it can be present either in the rivers, in the lakes, etc., or it can also be found in the marshes or the swamp forest as well as the coastal areas. Okay, and commonly found in the cold hill streams as well as the mountain rivers. The features, very important. These are solitary species. You don't find them in groups. So, solitary species. So, similar kind of characteristics is what the UPSC is focusing on. Okay. Recently also they asked one of the big cats, how do they mark their boundary? Okay. Whether they mark their boundary or not. Okay. So, every animal marks their boundary. So, you see these dogs also, no, they actually follow their bikes, follow the bikes, and they just run so, fast behind them. Why chasing them? It is because it feels that that biker is a potential threat, not that biker as a human being, but what happens? Some other dog would have actually from another colony would have marked their boundary and now they feel a potential threat. Okay, that is why they create a lot of ruckus. So, this is what it is. Next one, the features, they are solitary species and has a long slender body. We saw it has a very thick tail, it has very cute short legs, okay, and a sleek brown fur which is actually lighter underneath. And they have adaptations also, that is they have webbed feet because they are partially aquatic, while on land they walk with the legs, otherwise they have the webbed feet. And then the ability to close the ears and the nose underwater because mammals cannot breathe underwater for a long time. Okay, they have dense fur for insulation and sensitive whiskers also in order to detect, that is how they breathe and detect the prey. Then they have excellent senses of sight, smell and hearing. Okay, then it communicates through various vocalization, that is it has high pitched whistles also. They communicate to their corresponding species between the mothers and the cubs. Okay, then they twitter sounds during the play and cat like noises during the fight. So, they have their own characteristics. The conservation is that otter threatened, near threatened. Otter is near threatened and it is under Schedule 2 of the Wildlife Protection Act and Appendix 1 of CITES. So, this is what is about this cute species of Eurasian otter. Now, let's move forward in order to read about Pygmy Hog. Okay, so there have been 9 captive pygmy hogs and they have been released into the Manas National Park. Okay, where is Manas National Park? Of Assam. So here we will be discussing about this particular organism, that is the pygmy hog. This page, right? Yes. So pygmy, this is almost like a pig, right? This is a pig. So it is actually a mammal species that is found in Manas as well as the Barnadi Wildlife Sanctuary, where it is found. It is in Assam. Barnadi. Okay. So you mainly know only the Manas is actually found there, but Barnadi is also found in Assam. The characteristic features is that this is actually a mammal and it constructs its own nest, okay, and it is actually with a roof. So completely it is constructed by. So these features are very important, which makes it unique, okay. So constructs its own nest complete with a roof, and it serves as an indicator species. What do you mean by indicator species? The presence or the absence of a particular species signifies how healthy is your ecosystem or the habitat is all about, okay. So this is what it is. Next one, these are primarily found in the tall wet grasslands of the region. Next one, they are non-territorial, okay. So they actually live in small family groups of 4 to 5 members, and adult males are solitary, but they stay loosely connected to the family groups. The males are actually solitary, okay. So this is what it is, and you can see the mother, female, always the baby is sticking to the mother. So that's how you make stories in order to remember. Do you understand? Next, moving forward, the habitat we already spoke, right? They thrive in wet grasslands, and I told you it is an indicator species. And also they actually find in the wet grasslands, again it is being repeated, and then Uttar Pradesh, Assam, through Nepal's Terai region, okay. So Terai region in the Bengal Duars. So these are all geographic terms, right? The Terai, Bhangar, as well as the Khadar. The Bhangar is what? The new as well as the old alluvium, all that you need to know. Okay. Currently, it is mainly restricted to a small population in Assam. It is actually endangered under Appendix 1 of CITES and under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act. Okay. And then the threats actually include loss and degradation of the grassland habitat and illegal hunting. So this is all about the pygmy hog. Okay. Next one is another wonderful species, that is your red panda. So we will take a 1-minute break and let me have some water, and then we will continue with this red panda. Okay. So approximately how many species have we completed? Let us see. At least we have to complete a decent number, right? Okay. We have completed 8. Wow, that's a good number. Okay, we will try to complete many more as far as possible, because there are 41 species, unbelievable. But anyways, we will try to complete, okay, till how much ever it goes, we will see. Okay, let's start with red panda. The red panda program, it is actually at Darjeeling's Padmaja Naidu Himalayan Zoo. Very important. Darjeeling's Padmaja Naidu Himalayan Zoo, and this has actually been chosen for a particular award. What award is that? World Association of Zoos and Aquarium. So the red panda program has actually been chosen, okay, for this particular award. So since we are dealing with red panda program, it is important for us to understand that particular species as well, okay. Now let's move forward and understand about this beautiful animal, red panda. Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. So let us actually deal with this red panda. Okay, so there are two species of pandas in the world. One is giant pandas, next is the red pandas, right? Next one, the characteristic feature is that this is the state animal of Sikkim. Okay, we have so far dealt with the Gangetic dolphin, national aquatic animal of India. Okay, next, Great Indian Bustard, state animal of Rajasthan. Sorry, Gangetic dolphin, state animal of Assam. This is Rajasthan. And then you have the red panda, Sikkim. Okay, you have to remember the state animals, that is very important. So red panda, Sikkim. Okay, it is very shy. You can make it right from this particular picture. It is very shy. It is very, solitary, and this is also an indicator species, that it actually signifies the health of the ecosystem. When here any kind of ecological change which is happening very haphazardly, then if you find a decline in its population, that means your ecological health is actually deteriorating. Okay, so that is what it actually signifies. Then they are skilled climbers. Obviously they climb the tree, and they are usually solitary, but during the breeding season they are with a pair. Okay, so they actually have their girlfriend or boyfriend, and most are active during the twilight hours. So this is why it is called as what? The crepuscular. Remember, we read this for the tortoise also, right? So they are called as crepuscular. Okay, crepuscular is what? When they are active during the twilight hours. This is called as crepuscular. Next one, the habitat. If you see, we are actually home, that is India is a home to the Himalayan red panda as well as the Chinese red panda. Okay, so with the Siang river in Arunachal Pradesh dividing the two subspecies, important. So the Siang river is there, that actually divides both the species of India, that is Himalayan red panda as well as the Chinese red panda. This is what it is. Next one, they are found in the forest of India, Nepal, Bhutan, northern Myanmar and southern China, and the habitat in which it resides is actually mixed. Okay, so it has deciduous as well as coniferous forest with dense bamboo undercovers. Okay, or you can say understories. Next one, it is endangered under Appendix 1 of CITES under Schedule 1 of WPA, and the giant pandas are vulnerable under IUCN. So this is your red panda, and the giant pandas are vulnerable and they are under Appendix 1 of CITES. So this is about red panda. Next one, we are going to deal with clouded leopards. So let's see what are clouded leopards. Leopards are, the big cats, right? So big cat species are actually 7. What are they? They are lion, tiger, cheetah. Then you have the leopard, the clouded leopard. Then you have puma, jaguar. Except for puma and jaguar, the other 5 big cats are actually found in India. So that is why right? We actually had the Project Tiger that came up in the year 1973 in order to conserve the tigers in the forest, right? So what did India actually say? India actually houses around 3,800 species of tiger, and recently also we saw Guru Ghasidas, which is actually from Chhattisgarh, has been included as the tiger reserve in India. And apart from the 2 species, that is puma as well as jaguar, India houses all the other big cats. Okay, so this is what you need to know. Now we will see about this particular clouded leopard. Okay, so this, you have the wild cat species, and in the wild cat species only, the clouded leopard as well as the Sunda clouded leopard are the recognized ones. Okay, so under wild cats, these 2 leopards are actually the most recognized one. If you see the distribution, it is the Southeast Asia, the Himalayas, and also it actually includes the countries like China, Bhutan, Nepal, Northeast India, Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Cambodia, as well as Bangladesh. Okay, then within its range, the clouded leopard, they dwell in tropical evergreen rainforest, that is very thick forest. and also it is found in the mangrove swamps. In India, it is actually recorded in different states, that is Sikkim, northwestern Bengal, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram, almost in the northeastern region. This is the state animal of Meghalaya. Clouded leopard, and in Tamil, cloud means megham. Okay, so I don't know in other languages what they call. So since it's looking like a megham, the clouded leopard, it is the state animal of Meghalaya. Okay, so this is how you can remember. So clouded leopard, Meghalaya. So far what did we see? Dolphin, hissing noises, so state animal of Assam. Great Indian bustard, Rajasthan. Okay, because they thrive mostly in Rajasthan as well as Gujarat. Then we saw the red panda. Red panda, red panda never gets sick. Okay, so Sikkim. Red panda, Sikkim. Finally, what is this? Clouded leopard, clouded leopard, Meghalaya state animal. Okay, do you understand? So this is all about your clouded leopard. Next one, the features. See how beautiful. God's creation is just so beautiful. So this medium-sized cat measures between 60 to 110 centimeters in length, and it weighs around 20 kgs. Okay. So its name comes from the distinctive cloud patterns in its coat. You can see, right? So here it is actually in black, and then and here there is lighter fur and all these things. It's very, very beautiful. So it can climb while hanging upside down. This is actually one of the features. And then it is a solitary creature. Again, you need to know it is a solitary creature. So even in Pygmy Hog, we actually saw what? The males are solitary creatures. Okay. So that is what we had actually discussed. Now, let's move forward. Okay, so what are all the threats that it actually have? Threatens these particular species are what? The deforestation, habitat fragmentation, deteriorating rainfall, human wildlife conflict, as well as other activities, that is the developmental activities like infrastructure, then the energy projects that are coming up, all those things. Okay, now the conservation status, both of them are vulnerable on the IUCN Red List under Schedule 1 of the WPA and Appendix 1 of CITES. Okay, so this is what is the conservation status about the clouded leopard. Next one, let's read about an interesting bird. Okay, what is this bird? Amur falcon. Let's see. So, the Tamenglong District Administration of Manipur has recently enforced an immediate ban on any kind of hunting, capturing and selling of the Amur falcons. Okay, so ahead of their anticipated arrival. So, these are migratory birds. So, let us see more on Amur falcons. So see, this is a beautiful bird. This is the Amur falcon. So Amur falcons, it is actually, what to say, these are very agile birds. Okay, so this is also called as Falco amurius, and these are small as well as very agile birds of prey, that is called as the raptors, and this is locally referred to as, see, it is actually famously known in different regions, that is northeast, by different names like Manipur as well as Nagaland. Here your takeaway is that Nagaland is supposed to be called as the Amur falcon capital of the world. Very important, Nagaland. Next, they are primarily insectivorous, but they also consume small vertebrates. They get their name from the Amur river that actually divides borders China as well as Russia. Next, they are characterized by a dark plumage, white wing, if you can see here. Okay, and then it has a white wing and then reddish orange eyes and feet. So this is what is your Amur falcon. Now, if you have to see the migration, so they migrate from the northern China, eastern, from China they are actually coming here, okay. So, this is China. So, they actually come from this eastern Mongolia, then what to say, far east Russia till South Africa they travel. From here to here they travel. This is still South Africa. Okay, so vast distance of around 22,000 kilometers is how much they actually travel, passing through India by that time. Okay, so they are threatened by habitat loss, hunting as well as illegal trapping, and these species, for the conservation of these species in 2016, Manipur had actually come up with a program to tag Amur falcons with radio transmitters in order to track and study their migration patterns. And also we have the Amur falcon festival, okay, in this particular Tamenglong district of Manipur. The legal status, least concerned, okay, least concerned, and under convention on migratory species it is under appendix 2, and under Wildlife Protection Act it is under schedule 4 of the Wildlife Protection Act. Now let us actually move forward and see another organism, that is the one-horned rhino. Okay, so let us see why is it in news. So recent studies have actually revealed that the Kaziranga, okay, Kaziranga and other protected areas of Assam, these are actually home to the one-horned rhinos, right? So they have seen an 85% reduction in poaching of these species. It's a good news, right? So people are actually not poaching it anymore. So this is your news on one-horned rhino. So here see types of rhino which is actually found across the world. One is the black rhino, next you have the white rhino, you have the Sumatran rhino in the Sumatra region, then you have the Javan rhino, that is lesser one-horned rhino, and finally you have the greater one-horned rhino of India. So now let us see the great one-horned rhino. So this is what we were discussing, right? Yeah. So the great one-horned rhino, which is called as one horn, only one horn, so unicornis, okay. So rhinoceros unicornis, this is referred to as the Indian rhinoceros, okay. So this is actually the largest of the 3 species of the rhinoceros that is found in Asia. So what are the 3 species? What are the 3 species they are? The greater one-horned rhino, the Javan rhino as well as the Sumatran rhino. So these are the only 3 species that are found in Asia, that is the Javan, the Sumatran as well as the great one-horned rhino, and the heavier or the bigger is actually this one, okay. It is the largest, that is the Indian one-horned rhino is the largest. Next one, among these, the greater one-horned rhino is the biggest in terms of both size as well as weight, and it is comparable to that of African white rhino, okay, making both the species the largest rhino in the world. What are their, do you believe that they have a weight of around, they weigh 2,200 kgs, okay, and they are around 170 to 100 and, 80 centimeters, around 6 feet, okay, and they are around 380 centimeter long, and they have a single black horn which is around 8 to 25 inches, and they have the grey brown hide with skin folds. All this is not important. Generally they are solitary, okay, except for females with calves. I don't know, even in animals I think there is a gender role that women actually play, right? So females are with calves and the male actually defend the territories, okay. So this kind of demarcation of work is not only among the human beings but it's also among the animals. Very interesting. Yeah. So they primarily graze on grasses, but they also eat leaves, branches, fruits as well as aquatic plants. Okay. So this is about the greater one-horned rhino. If you see the distribution, the Indian rhinoceros primarily it is found in the regions of India, Nepal, particularly in the Himalayan foothills, okay. So historically it is actually believed that they would have roamed freely in the Brahmaputra, Ganges as well as the Indus river valleys, okay, and the largest population of around 2,500 species of one-horned rhino is found in the Kaziranga National Park, Assam. And let's move on to see the conservation status. Okay, you actually saw this, right? I took you through. So we have what? The greater one-horned rhino. So this is comparable in size with the African white rhino, whereas you see the Javan as well as the Sumatran and the one horn. These are the three species which are actually found in Asia. Now let's move on to look at the conservation status. So the black rhino critically endangered, white rhino near threatened, one horn rhino vulnerable. This is only more important, India, okay. So it is vulnerable. Then the Sumatran rhino critically endangered and they are extinct in Malaysia. If you see, it is under Appendix 1 of CITES, very important. And Wildlife Protection Act, that is what schedule? Schedule 1, that is highest protection is given to this rhino. And it what is the threat that they face? Poaching, habitat loss, and then if you see, there are high population density in certain specific areas like Kaziranga, that is leading to overcrowding. So that is also one of the threats, so that there will be scarce availability of food for them, and then decreasing genetic diversity is also found, okay. So this is what is your great one-horned rhino. Now let us see few of the conservation efforts. I understand that this is a very dry topic, I know that, but then we can't help it, we have to do it, okay. So New Delhi Declaration on Asian Rhinos 2019. So this was actually signed by 5 rhino nations, that definitely includes India. So India, Bhutan, then you have Indonesia as well as Malaysia actually coming together. Nepal also is there, they actually signed this, okay, for conservation of the Asian rhino species. Next you have DNA profiling. So this was the recent initiative by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, so that you create a DNA database, because we find the genetic variations that is also there, okay. So as all rhinos in India, to strengthen the conservation efforts. Then you have the National Rhino Conservation Strategy launched in the year 2019 to enhance the protection of the great one-horned rhino. And finally we have India Rhino Vision of 2020. So this actually came, this is the most important one you have to know, in 2005, with the aim in order to achieve the population of at least 3,000 greater one-horned rhinos across all the protected areas in Assam by the year 2020. But we actually have more than that also, okay. So this is what is the Indian Rhino Vision of 2020. Now let's move forward and see an elongated tortoise. So, why is it in news? A critically endangered elongated tortoise has been recently sighted in the Aravallis for the first time. Again, you need to know what are, these particular mountain ranges, okay? The Aravallis and the other mountain regions of the south as well as southern India. So, this is actually the elongated tortoise. So, if you see, how is it? It actually has a yellowish brown shell, right? Then it has black patches all over, and then or it also it is an olive green. So not that important, but anyways we will see, this was in the news. So elongated long tortoise distinguished by the yellowish brown or the olive shell with the black blotches at the center, okay. This is actually found in recent Haryana's Damdama region, okay. And during the breeding season, the mature tortoises develop a pink ring around their nostrils over here, okay. Though mature tortoises, they get a pink ring around the nostrils and their eyes, it seems. So this is what is the picture. And then habitat and distributions, they are actually found in the deciduous as well as the evergreen forests, and also the range extends from the Southeast Asia, from northern India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh in the west, through Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia, etc. Indo-China region is also present, okay. Then if you see the conservation status, it is critically endangered. This is not very important, that's why I'm skipping all these things. And next one is Appendix 2 of CITES and under Schedule 4 of the Wildlife Protection Act. They feel significant threats, of course, from hunting, okay, for the food, as well as traditional medicine, always, which are actually involved with the making of the drugs. Okay, so this is what it is. So moving forward, next one, Neela Kurunji, very, very important. Neela Kurunji flowers. Okay, Neela Kurunji, Neelam actually means blue. Okay, and this is a specific species of flowers that bloom only once in 12 years. Okay, so this has been included on the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species, that is International Union for Conservation of Nature, which is actually a global repository of all the threatened species. Okay, threatened as in, I'm just giving an umbrella term, so they have the different rate of conservation, okay, depending on the threats or the extinction that it actually faces. So if you see, this is that beautiful flower, that is Neela Kurunji. Okay, so this is particularly found in the south, and if you see more specifically Chikmagalur of Karnataka, and also it is actually called as the Strobilanthus kunthiana. Okay, they are also known as Kurinj, and they actually grow in a higher altitude, that is around 2500 meters. Okay, Neela means blue. This is what it is. So it is a Semalparous, meaning it only has a single reproductive cycle. So this is very important. Semalparous, it has a single reproductive cycle in its lifetime, which is characterized by the dramatic synchronous blooming and the fruiting, which actually happens every 12 years. Okay, so this phenomenon was observed since 1832. The Nilgiri Hills, meaning the Blue Mountains, these are known for Neela Kurunji, and additionally the Palayan tribes of Tamil Nadu use the blooming cycle in order to calculate their age. So once it blooms, they know that, oh, now I'm actually 12 years old. Oh, I'm 24 years old. It is like that. Okay, so this is what is called as Neela Kurunji. Now moving forward, so the shrub actually grows up to how many meters? 3 meters tall, and it's found at elevations between 1340 to around 2600 meters, and endemic to the Shola grassland ecosystem. Very, very important, and it is distributed across 34 subpopulations with 14 eco-regions. Not this and all is not important. Just know that it is actually found over here, and it is spread across the western as well as the eastern Ghats, where you have the Yercaud as well as Chevroy Hills. Okay, these places are all very beautiful. Then, what are the threats? Okay, so here there is conversion of montane high altitude grasslands into tea as well as the softwood cultivation. So that is why these are under threat, and the conservation status is vulnerable on the IUCN red list. Okay, so Neela Kurunji vulnerable. Okay, confirming its threatened status. Now moving forward, this is actually a beautiful and a cute species, that is Hoolock gibbon. Okay, so there has been a lot of trafficking instances that have been reported around this particular species, that is Hoolock gibbon. So there has been a growing concern over the trafficking of the Hoolock gibbon into India, particularly from, so Hoolock gibbon are actually brought into India from where? Southeast Asia, as well as specifically the countries of Thailand, Malaysia, etc., due to the higher demand for exotic pets. So this is the beautiful Hoolock gibbon. Now let's move forward and see. It is the only ape that is found in India. Okay, so it is the only ape which is found in India. Okay, so it is unique to the northeastern part of India, and it is one of the 20 overall gibbon species which are found on the earth. Okay, then it is characterized into western Hoolock gibbon as well as the eastern Hoolock gibbon. They are found in the tropical and the subtropical forest. Let's see the western and the eastern. So the western is called as the Hoolock Hoolock, whereas the eastern is called as the Hoolock leocanides. Okay, so not important again. So the western is that it inhabits all the states of northeastern India, all states, specifically in the Brahmaputra river and east of the Dibang river around that Arunachal Pradesh region. Okay, also found in Bangladesh and the northwestern Myanmar, and here the status is endangered. Whereas if you see the eastern, that is specifically found in areas of Arunachal Pradesh and Assam in India, and it actually extends into the southern China and Myanmar, and here it is called, it is vulnerable. Okay, so eastern is vulnerable and western is endangered. The legal protection placed under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act. Okay, very important. And then the threats are the, what to say, the habitat destruction in the form of zoom cultivation as well as illegal logging. So this is one of it. So this is the Huluk gibbon. The next one, again we are going to read about what? One of the big cats, that is the Indian leopard. Indian leopard species. Okay, so there has been an observation of 25% decrease, okay, of these particular leopards over the past 3 generations. So let us move and look at the Indian leopard. Okay, so before that, let's have some water because we've been reading too much about the species. Any doubts so far, any of you? If you're having any doubts, let's get it sorted then and there, because okay. So let us start with the Indian leopard. Okay, so there has been a decrease of around 25,000, sorry, 25% of leopard population in India. So it is called as the what to say, Panthera pardus fusca. So this is called as the leopard. Okay, so this is the Indian leopard species. Okay, it's an Indian leopard subspecies which are widely distributed on the Indian subcontinent, and it is supposed to be the smallest of the big cats. They are known for their ability so that they can actually adapt to a variety of habitats, whether it is a forest that is equal to, tropical forest, or it can even inhabit the grasslands. Okay, so they are agile predators, okay, that can climb the trees and drag the prey up for safety, and each of them mark their own territory. Very important. Okay, so how do they mark the territory? By leaving the excrement, okay, their excreta or scratches on the trees or the urine markings, so the urine scent markings. So only to mate, the males and the females will leave their own areas, otherwise they won't. Okay, the threats again is poaching, habitat destruction, hunting and conflicts with the humans. And here again the IUCN status is vulnerable, Appendix 1 of CITES as well as Schedule 1 of the WPA, that is the Wildlife Protection Act. Okay, so this is about the Indian leopard. Now let's move forward. The next animal is about the Vatica porpoise. This is actually a Cretacean. Let us actually see. Okay, so Vatica porpoise. This is nothing but it is the world's smallest aquatic mammal. Very important. This has actually seen, see, all these species majorly see a decline in their population, and this has seen a population decrease in Gulf of California. Okay, so because of their entanglement in the fish net. So this is the smallest aquatic mammal. If you see here the Vaquita porpoise, so here it is the world's smallest critically endangered mammal that is actually found. So there has been a 95% of population drop since the 1997 levels. Do you understand? Next, so let's see what is Vaquita porpoise. It's the world's smallest aquatic mammal. It is unique among the marine mammals as it is the only species which are found in the warm waters. It is called as not sea cow. It is called as a little cow. That was a dugong sea cow that already came in your examination. Okay. So it is known as the little cow in Spanish and it is confined to around 1500 square mile area in the upper, Mexico Gulf of California. That is Mexico's upper Gulf of California. Okay. So this is what is this particular mammal, that is Vaquita porpoise. Okay. So let's move. The threat is what? It is because, under a lot of catching. I mean, there's a lot of fishing that's taking place in order to catch the shrimp as well as the fish, where these aquatic mammals also get entangled and they are not able to escape. Now, the IUCN status is critically endangered and it is, conserved under Appendix 1 of CITES. Okay. So this is what the next article is. So next, let's see the Indian gaur. It is also called as the bison. Okay. So Indian gaur. So as per, so let us actually see how many. I just wish we finish at least 20 topics. Okay. So we have around 40 topics I told you. Now we are in gaur and sambar, right? So after that we have 3 more topics, that is Indian crocodiles, the Saurus crane as well as Nilgiri Thar. After that, we have white rhinoceros, the long-billed vulture, grey slender loris, and golden langur, spotted deer, etc. So, see, every topic it's not possible for us to discuss in detail. However, whatever are the important topics other than the species in news, we have done in exclusive detail. That is, every topic has been discussed. Now that we will do with 2 or 3 more species, and after that we will actually end our session and the PPTs and the material will be provided to you. Okay. So in case during the last minute preparation, you can just flip through the pages and have an idea. Okay. So here itself I would see. Okay. So here you have important species like snow leopard. You have the Asiatic lion. Okay, all that will be provided in the material. Okay, so let us actually start with this gaur and sambar. So as per the National Center for Biological Sciences, the land use patterns and the roads in the central Indian landscape, these are, that is, the development activities are disrupting the genetic connectivity of 2 large herbivores, that is the gaur as well as the sambar. So let us actually see what is the gaur. So it is a wild cattle. Okay. So also called as Bos gaurus. So it is the largest as well as the tallest in the family of wild cattle. Okay. So if you see, they are indigenous to the south as well as the southeastern part of Asia. They are primarily found in evergreen as well as a semi-evergreen forest and also in the moist deciduous forest in open grassland. So almost in all kind of habitats. Okay. So these are found. Next, the adult, if you see, that actually weighs around 600 kgs to 1500 kgs, still lesser than that of the rhino that we saw, right? The one-horned rhino. And the adult female weighs about 400 to 1000 kgs. The limbs are very strong and sturdy, we saw, right? So both males and females possess the horns. It's not that only males have horns, okay? And these are pale green or yellowish brown in color and they possess a slightly inward curvature. So the horns are like this and this is the head probably. Next one, they have a typically short tail and it is a social animal. They actually live in groups, around 30 to 40 members live together. It is vulnerable, protected under Schedule 1 of CITES as well as, Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act as well as Appendix 1 of Convention on International Trade of Endangered Species, that is CITES. Okay. So this is about your gaur. Then this is sambar, sambar deer. Sambar deer. Again, I know this is not English class, but it's not called deer, it's called deer. Okay. So about sambar, this is called as Rusa unicolor. Okay. So it is a large deer and it is native to the Indian subcontinent as well as Southeast Asia. Again, important part in the ecosystem is played by them in the form of dispersing the seeds. Okay. So thereby helps in what? The expansion of diversity. Okay. And then the distribution specifically in the Himalayan mountains, also in the islands of Taiwan, Sumatra, Borneo, specifically in the dry, deciduous as well as rainforest or mixed forest condition. Again, hunting and habitat encroachment is actually the threat that they face. And then under conservation status, it is under vulnerable conservation status, that is under IUCN as well as schedule 3 of sites. Okay. So this is about your sambar deer. See here. Now let's move forward. The next one is Indian crocodiles. Okay. So let's deal with the Indian crocodiles. So yes. Okay. So 2024 actually marks the 50th year of India's crocodile conservation project. So since we are dealing with the conservation project of crocodiles, we need to know what are crocodiles, right? So come, let's discuss about the crocodiles. So before that, the crocodile conservation project was actually launched in 1975. So remember, in 1973 there was Project Tiger. Okay, so this was actually launched in the Bhitarkanika National Park. Where is this present? In Odisha. And this was done with the assistance of the United Nations Development Program, that is the UNDP, okay, and the FAO. So this is very important. So crocodile conservation, I told you Bhitarkanika, 1975, assistance of United Nations Development Program along with the FAO, that is Food and Agriculture Organization. So important species of India's crocodile, let us actually see what are the different species. So here first one is the estuarine crocodile, next one is the marsh crocodile. So each of it actually has its own conservation status and also the habitat. Okay, and the next one will be your gharial. Okay, so they have a bulbous knob. All these are characteristic features. These are very important. So you can actually refer to all these in the link that we are actually, link as in the link of our website is actually given below. So you can visit and under current affairs you can actually download, or you can actually see the Narayana IAS Academy app where we post these classes alongside the corresponding PPT. So this will also be uploaded today. Okay, so not to worry. And the next one is about the Saurus crane. So the topics that actually come from here, see, look at Saurus crane. We have Saurus crane, the geographical distribution. And then the next one will be the Nilgiri Thar. This is your Nilgiri Thar found in the Nilgiri regions. And the next article will actually be on what? On your, again, red panda. We have already done it. And then we again will see about the white rhinoceros. We already discussed, right? White rhinoceros, Africa. So this is your white rhinoceros. Again, we will actually see the distribution. And then the next one is about what? Long-billed vultures. So these are the long-billed vultures. Okay. So why these are being affected? Because of feeding on the cattle. Okay. Because livestock are actually provided with this drug which is called as diclofenac, which is present. So when they actually feed on it, these are going extinct because these are also the keystone species, which is nothing but like an indicator species. Okay. So this is very, very important. This is native to the Indian subcontinent. Then moving forward, we have, what is this? Grey slender lion. Sorry, this is grey slender loris. Okay, not lion. So this is actually an insectivorous nocturnal animal, if you actually see here, and then it is found in the southern Andhra Pradesh, Sri Lanka as well as the eastern Indian region. Then found under Schedule 1 and then threatened, and what are all the, what to say, the major threats that they actually face. This disappearance of a particular variety of tree also causes extinction of this particular species. Okay, then moving on, we will actually see the next animal, or you can say the bird. This is called as the Bugun Leo Sichla. Okay, so this is also an important bird. See, all this is not, I won't say everything is very important, but you need to know all these things. At least be familiar with the names is what I will suggest. Okay, then there are different animals. Again, you have the golden langur. Okay, so such a beautiful animal. You can see they are also known as the leaf monkeys. They live in high trees, etc., and this is what it is. And also the color, the golden color of the fur, no, that actually changes with the change in the seasons. So that is and also the region where they live in. So this is your golden langur. And also you have the spotted deer. This is very beautiful spotted deer, which are actually found in the grasslands as well as the other forests. It's found in Sri Lanka, then Bangladesh, etc. Then again, what are the what is a conservation status it's actually found. Then finally you have the Asiatic lion, the king of the forest, right? They are also called as the Persian lions. So they actually have a mane growth. They have moderate mane growth, and where they are found, if you see specifically in the Gir forest, okay, in which is actually located Gir National Park in India, it is mainly found. Okay, then you also have the Indian skimmer. This is actually a bird which is used for, I mean, which actually feeds on fish as well as other marine organisms and so on. Okay, so here you actually have around 41 topics, where the majority, or you can say the first 20 topics I've covered. The remaining we will actually provide you the PPT, as I already told you. So here we've actually come to the end of our session of environment and ecology. Okay, so I kept it towards the end because there is actually no conceptual clarity which is required. It is more about memorizing as well as recalling from your memory. Okay, so these are all the list of animals that we discussed, okay, or the species we discussed. So coming back to this particular slide, we started with the ecosystems, dealt with environmental organization and bodies, dealt with very important concepts of climate change, went on to biodiversity, looked at what are all the important conventions on biodiversity. We saw the Kunming Protocol, what are the different efforts taken across the globe as well as India in conservation of biodiversity, like the Project Tiger, the Big Cat Alliance, and so on. And then we moved on to the concept of pollution. We discussed all types of pollutions, very important concepts, because recently also there was a question on groundwater pollution. Okay, so arsenic contamination, lead contamination, and what are these different pollutants? I mean, what are the diseases that are associated with these different pollutants? All this we saw. And then we also discussed about the waste management, moved on to geography in news, key terms in news, and finally today we actually dealt with another important topic, that is nothing but your species in news. Okay, so with this we've actually come to the end of I think one of the most what to say, important sessions on environment and ecology for your upcoming prelims examination. I hope all of you actually liked it. In case you guys actually need some help, please do reach out to us by writing to us. And in case you like the sessions, please do like, share, and subscribe to Narayana IAS Academy YouTube channel. And I will meet you guys very soon with our other important class on important organizations, that is international bodies and organizations, as well as your important or the places or the regions in focus that can come in your exams. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Have a good and pleasant day.